The termination letter landed on Ethan Cole's desk at exactly 8 a.m., stamped with cold corporate authority, escorted by 2 security officers, and watched by smiling executives who believed they had just erased the quiet man who knew too much. None of them realized that the employee they mocked, stripped of his badge, and forced out of the building had spent the last 3 years serving as a confidential Department of Justice asset, risking everything to expose the corruption hiding behind polished boardrooms, billion-dollar contracts, and perfect public reputations. They celebrated his downfall without knowing they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters, that good people deserve second chances, and that truth always finds its way to the light, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who loves inspiring stories, leave a comment, and subscribe to the Heartwarming Stories. Your support helps these meaningful stories reach more people around the world. For nearly 8 years, Ethan had been the invisible backbone of Hawthorne Dynamics, one of the country's fastest-growing technology corporations. He never chased promotions or applause. While others competed for executive titles, Ethan quietly solved impossible problems, stayed late to protect coworkers from impossible deadlines, and treated janitors with the same respect he gave senior managers. Many employees barely noticed him, assuming he lacked ambition because he preferred silence over politics. What nobody understood was that silence had become his greatest weapon. Years earlier, Ethan accidentally discovered irregular financial transfers while updating internal compliance software. At first, he assumed they were accounting mistakes. But the deeper he looked, the stranger everything became. Millions of dollars disappeared through shell companies, contracts were awarded to fake vendors, and government grants intended for innovation quietly funded executive luxuries. When he reported the inconsistencies internally, he was warned to stop asking questions if he valued his career. Most people would have looked away. Ethan could not. His late father had been a police officer who spent his entire career teaching one simple lesson: integrity only matters when it costs something. Those words echoed through Ethan's mind every night he stared at spreadsheets filled with lies. Eventually, he contacted federal investigators through confidential channels. After months of verification, the Department of Justice asked him to become a protected confidential asset, carefully gathering evidence without exposing himself. The assignment changed his life. Every workday became a balancing act between survival and justice. Ethan copied documents legally available through his position, documented suspicious meetings, preserved digital records before they disappeared, and carefully followed every instruction investigators provided. He never fabricated evidence. He never crossed legal boundaries. He simply preserved the truth while powerful people desperately tried to erase it. The stress slowly consumed him. Birthdays passed unnoticed. Relationships faded because he could never explain why he constantly looked exhausted. Friends assumed work had changed him. His mother often worried whenever she noticed the growing sadness behind his smile, but Ethan refused to burden her with secrets that could place her in danger. Every sacrifice carried the hope that someday innocent employees would no longer work under leaders who rewarded greed instead of honesty. Meanwhile, Hawthorne Dynamics continued expanding. Television interviews praised its visionary leadership. Business magazines celebrated its explosive growth. Investors poured billions into the company while charitable campaigns painted executives as generous community heroes. Behind closed doors, however, intimidation became routine. Employees who questioned financial decisions quietly disappeared from payroll. Compliance officers resigned without explanation. Fear spread through every department. Eventually, someone inside the executive circle grew suspicious. Security audits increased. Employee devices were monitored more aggressively. Private investigators interviewed staff under the excuse of improving workplace efficiency. Ethan realized the walls were closing in, yet federal investigators encouraged him to remain patient. The case needed one final piece connecting senior leadership directly to fraudulent transactions. Then everything changed. One rainy Monday morning, Ethan received an unexpected meeting invitation from Human Resources. He walked into a conference room where smiling executives pretended to show sympathy while accusing him of violating vague company policies involving organizational trust and performance alignment. No evidence was presented. No meaningful explanation followed. His access was revoked immediately. Security escorted him through the lobby while coworkers watched in stunned silence. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others looked relieved it wasn't them. Executives believed they had eliminated their biggest problem. As Ethan stepped outside carrying nothing except one small cardboard box containing family photographs and an old coffee mug from his first year at the company, something remarkable happened. Instead of collapsing under humiliation, he quietly smiled. The evidence was already safe. The investigation was complete. Their decision to fire him had only strengthened the government's case by demonstrating retaliation against an employee connected to compliance concerns. Weeks passed without public attention. Inside luxury offices, executives congratulated themselves for protecting the corporation. Share prices remained steady. Celebration dinners continued. Expensive speeches praised leadership resilience. They believed the storm had passed. Then federal agents arrived. Search warrants were executed before sunrise across multiple corporate offices. Computers were seized. Financial servers were preserved. Executive phones disappeared into evidence bags. News helicopters circled headquarters while stunned employees gathered outside wondering how their admired company had fallen overnight. The headlines spread faster than anyone imagined. Investigations revealed years of procurement fraud, obstruction of justice, witness intimidation, false reporting, and misuse of federal funding. Investors demanded accountability. Board members resigned. Executives who once treated employees as disposable suddenly faced courtrooms instead of conference rooms. Yet Ethan never celebrated their downfall. He understood that thousands of innocent workers now feared losing jobs they depended upon to support their families. The corruption belonged to a handful of leaders, not the hardworking engineers, receptionists, cleaners, technicians, and assistants who simply wanted honest employment. When federal investigators publicly acknowledged the courage of an unnamed confidential asset whose integrity made the investigation possible, Ethan remained anonymous by choice. Recognition had never been his goal. Justice had. Months later, a non-profit organization helping ethical businesses rebuild corporate cultures invited Ethan to serve as a compliance advisor. Instead of chasing wealth, he accepted because it allowed him to protect people rather than punish them. His experience became a blueprint for companies determined to create transparent workplaces where honesty wasn't viewed as weakness. Slowly, life began healing. His mother smiled again after finally understanding why her son had carried such heavy burdens. Former co-workers reached out with heartfelt apologies for staying silent when he needed support most. Many admitted fear had controlled them, but Ethan never judged them. He believed courage grows differently inside every person. One former janitor visited Ethan with tears in his eyes. During difficult nights years earlier, Ethan had always stayed behind to help move equipment, carry heavy boxes, and share coffee during long shifts. The janitor confessed those simple acts of kindness had restored his faith during the hardest chapter of his own life. Ethan realized something profound that afternoon: while corruption captures headlines, quiet kindness changes lives forever. The corporation eventually emerged under entirely new leadership committed to transparency, employee protection, and ethical accountability. Thousands kept their jobs because the organization chose reform over collapse. The painful journey became proof that institutions can recover when truth replaces arrogance. Ethan often walked past the old headquarters without bitterness. The building looked exactly the same from the outside, but he knew appearances rarely revealed reality. Real strength had never come from expensive offices, executive titles, or billion-dollar valuations. It came from ordinary people willing to protect what was right, even when standing alone. If this story has touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe to the Heartwarming Stories. Every interaction helps inspiring stories like this reach people who need encouragement the most. Special request * before this story ends, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Ethan's position? The world will always remember powerful people who built empires, but history shines brightest on ordinary individuals who quietly defended truth when nobody was watching. Ethan lost a job, endured loneliness, sacrificed comfort, and carried impossible burdens without expecting applause. In return, he gained something money could never buy. The certainty that one honest decision, made by one ordinary person, can protect countless innocent lives and remind the world that integrity is never truly defeated.